Welcome to another edition of Real Estate Matters. Today, I'm here with Eric Broder, and Eric and his team are considered to be one of the most reputed firms in the state of Connecticut for family law, so it's great to have you with us here, Eric. And I really want to take a minute to talk about a couple of topics, and the first is, with interest rates doing what they're doing, a lot of people in real estate are asking questions about what should they be doing, and I think, in your space, it'd be interesting to hear from your perspective. People go through a divorce, often there's a division of assets, and that includes property. And what do you give counsel to your clients on when they say, look, if I want to buy a client I want to buy my ex-spouse out of a property, but the interest rates are where they are today, I'm in a little bit of a bind. So can you maybe walk the audience through that?
Yeah, sure. First of all, in almost any divorce, the house is probably the most argued about or centerpiece of a lot of negotiations. It comes into play obviously for reasons when there are children. You're raising kids in a home. We don't want to displace kids if we don't have to. And often one spouse will try to buy out the other one from the house. Often as well, both spouses are on the mortgage. So you have the problem today, which I've never experienced before, where the interest rates are so much higher today that if you're going to refinance to remove the other spouse's name off the mortgage is going to shoot up and your monthly expenses are going to be incredibly higher. So I can give an example of a case we recently resolved, and here's how we resolved it. The interest rate that they were both on was 3%. The most inexpensive or lowest rate that this person could get was 8%. And the expense of the monthly amount on that house would have gone up $100,000 based on the increase in the mortgage. And that would have made it impossible for that person to get the other person off the mortgage or off the note.
Sure.
So what we did uniquely is we worked out an arrangement where the person or the spouse staying in the home was going to pay an extra $50,000 a year, which they could afford, to the spouse that was vacating the home. So instead of paying the bank $100,000, they were now paying $50,000. So it's sort of a win-win because the recipient is getting an extra $50,000 to spend on maybe their own rent. And I'll touch on the towns and rent in a sec. I'll give you a good example of what we do. And it's also costing less than the $100,000. We usually, though, put in a drop-dead date where someone has to remove them from the mortgage. But with this flexibility, instead of being a year or two from the divorce, we can push it out 5 years or 6 years. Or get creative where we say when there's a product available, maybe a 10-year ARM or a 7-year ARM that has a lower interest rate than a traditional 30-year note, that at a certain point they have an obligation to refinance. So it lets children stay in a home that they otherwise likely would not be able to stay in under normal circumstances. And it allows also this now second person who's moving out with that extra $50,000 a month to rent a home maybe somewhere if they can now not get their name on another mortgage. And when you have towns, and I'll pick on Darien, Connecticut only because it's convenient, because there are Norwalk and Stamford are two towns nearby that are less expensive generally. You might be able to find a rental in Norwalk while your spouse stays with the children in Darien. And there are parts of Norwalk that are closer to your kid's school in Darien than other parts of Darien are. So it sort of becomes a win-win in a divorce, which everyone considers a losing situation. So we try to put that creativity to help resolve our cases when this issue comes up.
And that's a terrific bit of advice, great solution. One of the reasons that we work so closely with Eric and collaborate is because he gives such tremendous advice. And I'm going to kind of take a shift over and just talk a little bit about, because not only do we collaborate, but you work with a number of other professionals when you're helping people go through a divorce, whether it's a certified financial planner, a CPA, a financial advisor. Maybe tell the audience a little bit about what, I can tell from my perspective, what's important for me when I look at another professional advisor is I need somebody who's empathetic, really understands the client situation, needs somebody who's trustworthy. And I think the most important thing, we use the word advisor, and I don't want to use it loosely because we're not in a sales position. We're in a position to give advice and counsel to people on meaningful matters. So from your end of things, when you work with other professional advisors, tell us what you're looking for in people.
I mean, certainly a lot of the same things you just mentioned, but I would add to it reliability and responsiveness. I'm used to people being in a position where they want an answer right away. This isn't waiting on some business issue that can wait a few days or a week. We have to get back to people, and I think we pride ourselves on doing that. So I look for that in people I refer issues to, be it an accountant, a therapist, or in this case, you and your team, which we've worked very well with collaboratively. So that is probably, in addition to the factors you raised, my sort of criteria. I also want to make sure that whoever I'm working with, especially with a legal issue that's in an agreement, like the sale of a house, because some provisions of a sale could be different or more unique in a divorce than when you just sign up a regular client. I want to make sure we're working together. Even you doing the best job you can could run counter the results to what is required or the consequences are in a divorce agreement. And we've obviously had that success on numerous occasions where we have done that, kept people out of court, and kept it as streamlined as possible. Because fighting about a house or anything post-divorce takes months and months and months. It is not going to get the attention that a custody case has. You're going to get punted by the court every time. So it's important that my advisors understand that and work with me when I'm working with my clients.
Yeah. Look, this has been super helpful, and I think you can see Eric's a wealth of knowledge. One of the reasons we partner with him is for this very reason. We're not looking to give people, to hopefully people aren't getting divorced, but if they do, this is the guy, his team you want to talk to. So I want to thank Eric for being here today, and look forward to future episodes of Real Estate Matters. Thanks again for joining us.
Thanks for having me.